All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about prospecting for new business. And so through the next 30 minutes, my goal is that you never, ever worry about where your next deal is going to come from, which I think for many of you, if we're being honest in this business, it is on the top of our mind, right? It is a worry about, okay, how do I generate a consistent income in a business that is inconsistent? And so for most realtors, they live their career going up and down, up and down. They generate a lot of business, and then they stop doing the things that got them the business to service the business. And it's this roller coaster ride. So here are the three things I want you guys to take away from today. Number one, I'm going to show you how to generate listing leads for free. I'm going to show you the skills to convert those leads into actual, what I call QLAs, qualified listing appointments. And then number three, at the end, as a bonus, I thought about if I was going to do this or not. I'm going to show you guys how to list and sell 50 houses over the next 12 months without spending $1 on marketing. You guys good with that? Give me a thumbs up. All right, beautiful. So let's jump in. So one person gave me a thumbs up, so that's always good. I'm just kidding. I can't see the rest of your faces, so it's all good. So first thing I want to get into is what I call the lead generation matrix. Okay, it's I want you guys to understand this from a high level, so that as we go through this, it'll make a lot more sense. So I call this the time, skill, money, inbound, outbound analysis. All right, and this is going to make a lot of sense to you guys. But by definition, when I say time, we're just talking about the average lead conversion time. When we talk about skill, what is the level of skill required to convert the lead? Money, does it cost money? Does the lead acquisition model cost money or not? And then inbound, outbound is probably the most important thing for all of you to really, really wrap your minds around as you grow your careers in this industry. And inbound, outbound simply means the ability to control and predict conversion. So for many of you, and maybe this relates to you, maybe it doesn't. For many agents, I'll call, that get in this business by the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that don't make it and leave this business, they believe it's like an inbound business, meaning like insurance, or like going to be a personal banker at Chase, where you go into an office and buyers and sellers are lined up outside to find a realtor. How many of you have ever got a client by sitting in the office and some random person came by and said, I'm looking for a real estate agent? Oh yeah, that's right. Never. It's never going to happen. So real estate, I think we can all agree, is that if anything's going to happen, we have to be the ones to initiate. I call that outbound, right? So we don't find that out until after we get our license, and it's like an oh shit moment, like, damn, I got to go make this thing happen. I got to go out there and generate business. Business isn't coming to you unless one of you are really, really lucky, where you have a big sphere and they're just calling you every single day wanting to list and buy houses. But for most of us, we have to go out there and find the business. And I think, most of you would agree with that. So let me show you the matrix. There are only 6 ways to generate business in real estate. Okay. You can have your sphere of influence. You can get referrals. You can do paid advertising. You can do free advertising on social media. You can do open houses, or you can prospect for new business. Now, quickly, if you look at the matrix on the lead generation scale, your sphere of influence from a time perspective or conversion, we have no idea. We have no idea when Aunt Jane is going to reach out to us and want to buy a house. And when Uncle Joe calls us, we don't know if he wants to do something now, in the future, 10 years from now, we have no idea. From a skills perspective, it doesn't take a lot of skills for your brother to call you to sell a house. Obviously, it's free, and it's an inbound lead generation system. So nothing wrong with doing business with your sphere of influence. Quite frankly, NAR came out with the stat. If you guys don't have this, you should go buy it. It's $20 on NAR's website. They came out with the 2021 member profile. Yes, do you guys have that? Yeah, you guys should get that. It's $20, and they talk about, like, they break down every realtor's business essentially. 50% of all of our closed transactions come from our sphere of influence, but it was an inbound, meaning we didn't do anything outbound to generate Uncle Bob calling us. They just knew we were in real estate and he reached out. The next is referrals. Referrals, again, timeline. We don't know what the conversion timeline is. It doesn't take that much skill for somebody to refer you to somebody. It's free and it's an inbound thing. And inbound, outbound, remember by definition, inbound means you have no control over it. You cannot wake up this morning, Matt, and say, I want a referral today. And then magically a referral comes into your business. Maybe you can. I've never been able to do that in my life, but you can't control it. Paid advertising, let's talk about it. Timelines, they're all over the place. Sometimes you can convert a lead right off the rip. And a lot of people succeed with this. And it's a great strategy. It takes high levels of skill to convert these leads into a closing, which most of you know. And it costs money to do this. And it is an inbound strategy, right? We put paid advertising on Facebook or Instagram, or maybe we do a pay per click campaign and we get leads in, but then we have to reach out to them and then convert the lead. Fine. It's a beautiful way to grow your business. Next is social media. We don't know the conversion cycle until somebody reaches out to us. It's a free strategy. It's an inbound. Open houses are the same thing. These are all inbound strategies. And what I mean by this specifically is they are a passive approach to generating business. In other words, you have to wait for somebody to reach out to you. And for me, waiting has never been the best strategy. I always tell all the agents that I coach, hope is not a strategy. Sitting back, hoping and waiting for people to call you isn't the best way. So I'm going to teach you guys how to prospect for a specific purpose to generate business on a consistent basis, where we can get prospects to tell us specifically when they want to sell a house. It's all free, it's all outbound, but you do need high levels of skill, which I'm going to teach you in today's training. So first off, this is so important. Prospecting is not cold calling. And I'm going to share with you what I mean by this and how this works. There's a process in that's called natural selection. It is how all predators hunt their prey. And so on the screen, you see a picture of this lion looking at her prey. And for any of you that know how this process of natural selection works, it's going to make a lot of sense when we talk about lead generation in real estate. But here's what the lion does. When she sees her prey cross the river, does she go after all of them? The answer would be no. She sits back. She doesn't even move. Quite frankly, most of the time, she lays down. She stays laying down until something happens, which is called natural selection. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Put it in the chat. What occurs before the lion even thinks about moving? I'll just give you the answer. She waits until she's identified the weakest link, or the one that is the easiest to catch, the one who self-selects. Unfortunately, I know this is kind of cruel, but it's the reality. This is how it works in the wild. And only then does the lion take action. Only then does she make a move where the likelihood of her getting fed is the highest. That's a process of natural selection. So let's talk about how this relates in real estate. Cold calling is different from prospecting. How, Brandon? Well, because cold calling is a very randomized thing. It has a negative connotation towards it. Cold calling to me is picking up the phone book and calling random people, hoping that they want to sell their house. To me, prospecting makes a lot of difference. It's a lot more effective. And what I mean by that specifically, how I define prospecting is by first, and this is so important, first identifying a targeted group of people who you and I know already want to sell their house. And then number two, we proactively reach out to those people who are already saying, I'm selling my house. You reach out to those people who we already know need a service of a real estate agent. And so the foundation of any business in sales, which we are all in, The foundation is generating new business, because without a lead generation strategy, as you guys would all agree, it's just a matter of time before you have no more money and you have to make a decision, right? So that's the difference between cold calling and prospecting. Let me give you my seller lead generation model, okay? First thing we're going to focus on this morning is what I call hand raisers. It's kind of what I just talked about. These are the sellers in your backyard who you and I already know with 100% certainty that they want to sell their house. We'll talk about those in a second. Number two, we're going to pick a specific niche. Now, this is for a lot of real estate agents, this is a very foreign concept, but I'm going to teach you guys how to go after seller leads with absolute no competition. Like, there's not another realtor in your office or in the market that are going after some of these niches we're going to go through. And this is what we know. The riches are in niches. You guys have all heard that. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cute saying, Brandon. It's so true. Who makes more money, the brain surgeon or the family practitioner? Why? Because the brain surgeon is specialized in a specific niche. All of you would agree. Say yes. Yes. Okay, cool. Well, the same thing happens in real estate. What if there was a world where only you specialize in a specific niche in the city or the community in which you worked, and you were known as this person who mastered this niche, and so everybody in that community came to you to sell their home? I'm going to share those with you in just a second. Then we're going to talk about referral partners. Okay. I'm going to kind of share a cross-industry strategy for working with other professionals who are working with people that have to sell their house. And so I'll walk you through what that means in just a second. And then lastly, I'm going to walk you guys through my market domination strategy. In other words, becoming the go-to agent in a specific neighborhood. I'll teach you how to do that. So let's talk about hand raisers first. We're talking about expired listings, old expired listings, for sale by owners, and for rent by owners. These are 4 lead sources in every city, across every state in the country, that are people that we know that absolutely want to sell their house. There is no guesswork around this. And I'm going to teach you how to communicate with these people and how to convert them into listings in just a minute. So these would be your hand raisers. Whether these lead sources intimidate you or not, whether the competition is high because all of the top producers are going after these because they're now business. So like I said, you need high levels of skill. But nonetheless, even if you are going after these and your skills aren't where they maybe will be in the future, these are great ways to sharpen your skills and to get real cracks at now listings. And I'll teach you how in just a second. Let's talk about seller niches. Okay, and if you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat. So first, absentee owners. All the studies show that we're probably close to the height of where values are going to be. Last year here in Metro Detroit, as you guys all hopefully know, because you guys are all experts, we had a 20% increase in property values. Well, we're probably going to see the height of that in 2022, which means all the economists at every organization across the country believe that people that have 1 or 2 rental properties that rode the market up, they got a good cash on cash return while they were a landlord. Like any smart investor, what do? You sell high, you buy low. Well, we're about to see the height of the market. All of you know we have a massive inventory issue. All the economists at Realtor.com, at Zillow, at NAR, all of them believe that we are going to get a massive flow of new inventory from this one niche. So much so, if all of you log into RealComp right after this training and you go look at the sold data over the past 365 days in any city, what you're going to find is that 20% of every closing in every city is coming from this demographic right this second. That number is expected to double in 2022. So how many of you are going after absentee owners right now? Every time I do this with a different brokerage or a group of agents, it's rare that anybody's going after this niche, which our MLS is telling us this is where all the sellers are at. In your MLS right now, Yaz, you should do this report for the group. over 20% of every closing is coming from this one niche. Okay. So that'd be a really, really good idea for you guys to spend some time, energy, and effort. Next, let's talk about downsizers. This is the next big demographic in 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 that is supposed to double. So what am I talking about downsizers? I am talking about all of the baby boomers, 65 years and older, that are coming of retirement age with homes that are paid off. So there's no mortgage. The house is larger than the average home in that market. It's a 2-story residence where the master bedroom is on the 2nd floor. These are the people that need to downsize, cash in on their equity positions, and they all want to do what? You guys probably are working with them. All of these people want that single family or that single ranch style condo type community. And can you find them? You can't find them anywhere. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of these downsizers that are waiting to cash in on their equity, where they raised all of us, their children. Why? And so now their houses are paid off. They're at of retirement age. They're going to sell those houses, cash in. So this is another massive, massive demographic. The chief economist at Zillow came out and just reported that this demographic is also supposed to double in 2022. So this might be a great, great area for you to spend your time. Many of you might be asking, well, Brandon, how in the world do I find this data? Where do I get the information? Well, all of you have access to these leads right now for free. There's something called Remine in our MLS, and this is how we find the list of all of these leads. And you can get all of the phone numbers, emails, the addresses, all of that for free inside of Remine, inside of Realcom. Next, let's talk about probate. So probate, another huge niche. Okay, here's the stats in our state, in Michigan, is 50% of homeowners right now do not have an estate plan. And how many of you know what happens when you die and you own a home and you don't have an estate plan? Well, the answer is on the screen. The property has to go through probate. 90%, and I had a lot of the probate attorneys that I work with on my YouTube channel. You guys can go watch those interviews. 90% of probate cases that go through probate court have real estate that need to be sold. And here's the key thing. The people that are handling these probate cases, like the trustees, the people, the family members, most of them don't live where the probate case is. In other words, when grandma passes away and her grandson who lives in Georgia has to come up to Michigan to handle the probate case, he doesn't have any relationships with realtors in Royal Oak at all. So this would be a great niche for you guys to go after, to find listings with zero competition. Next, let's talk about distressed sellers. These are all people with past due mortgages. Anybody that's in the investing world, this would be a great, 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 great niche for you. Okay, so distressed property owners. These are the people that are kind of hanging on by a thread. Now, while values are up, be a great opportunity for you to reach out and potentially get their property sold. One of my favorite, where I get a lot of my business, is from divorce. Okay, so it's unfortunate, but the truth is 50% of all, I almost said weddings, of all marriages end in a divorce. Well, watch this. 80% of all divorce cases end up with not one, not two, but 3 real estate transactions for every one divorce, right? So a couple gets divorced, they sell the marital home, there's your listing, and then each divorcing spouse buys a new home. So you can go after one lead and get 3 transactions, which is what I've been doing over the last couple of years to really, really grow my business. Okay, so if you have any questions about niches, just put them in the chat and I'll come back to them. Let's talk about the next lead pillar, which is referral partners. It doesn't matter how long you guys have been in the business, whether you've been in the business for a year or 25 years, this is going to ring true. The existing model right now kind of goes one way. You've got the real estate agent who gives referrals to other business professionals. In other words, how many times are you guys getting blown up by title people, home warranty people, mortgage people, all these people? What do they want? They all want your clients, right? Well, we should be flipping this around. And there are professions out there that work with people as their career that need to buy and sell homes. And so part of your business plan this year and moving forward should be a referral partner inbound model where you wake up to inbound referrals in your voicemail. Let me give you guys an example. So divorce attorneys, okay? So Jen and I, well, my assistant's on this webinar. You guys don't know that. We have two really good divorce attorneys, one in Troy, one in Rochester. This one relationship is responsible for 2 to 3 listings every single month. 2 humans. Why? Because what they build their business and how they feed their family by helping people go through the divorce process. I just told you 80% of those people have houses to sell. I have 2 that are responsible for 20 to 30 deals a year with 2 relationships. So it would make a lot of sense for you to have a relationship with divorce attorneys. The average divorce attorney is doing 10 to 15 divorce cases per month. So what does that mean? That means that each divorce attorney, and there's thousands of them, have 6, 7, 8 listing opportunities a month. The next one would be probate attorneys. We just talked about probate. All these attorneys, they have to get the property sold in order for them to get paid. And I just told you the people that are dealing with the probate cases, they don't have a relationship with a real estate agent. So it would make sense for you guys, Shane, to go and build a relationship with 1, 2, 3 probate attorneys in whatever city you live, so that when they're dealing with their clients and there's real estate that needs to be sold, they can just say, hey, Shane, I've got another property in Birmingham. I need you to sell this thing, right? And now you have inbound referrals. How many of you work with these 2 right now? Just put it in the chat. Any of you guys have divorce attorneys or probate attorneys? Okay. Number 3, estate planning attorneys. Remember I told you half of the people don't have estate plans to protect their property from going through probate court. Well, all of these estate planning attorneys, that's all they do. How many of you heard of a lady bird deed? This is a title thing. Yeah, you probably have. Yeah. So all these people are dealing with people that have real estate. Turn that off. Have real estate needs that need to sell property, transfer property, do a bunch of different things with their real estate. Be a great relationship for you to have. Elder care attorneys, same thing. Let me talk to you about assisted living community managers. One of my favorite. We do a lot of business here. All of you, I don't care what cities you live in, have an assisted living community getting built on the corner, whatever city you live in. They're everywhere, probably 2 or 3 in every city. And think about this for a second. We talked about how valuable the baby boomer niche is. Think about their parents. Their parents, okay, are going into assisted living care. How they pay more times than not for their stay in assisted living is by selling their house. Now, if you go and talk to a sales manager at one of these assisted living communities, here's what they're going to tell you. And we coach to this all the time. They're going to tell you, my number one objection in closing sales, I'm the sales manager at the assisted living community. How I get paid is by people coming into my community and then renting these places that are $10,000 a month. My number one problem is they say, well, we have to sell mom, dad, grandpa, grandma's house to pay for this. Now imagine a world for just a second. You have relationships with 2, 3, 4, 5 sales managers at these assisted living communities right in your backyard. And every time they got that objection, they said, well, that's okay. We partner with a great company. Her name is Yaz, and she specializes in helping elders get their property sold and helping them transition into communities like ours. I'd be happy to introduce you to her. Ding, 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 ding. Massive, massive listing opportunity for you guys with absolute no competition. How many of you are getting listing from assisted living sales managers? It probably starts with 0, right? That's the point, right? That's the point with a niche. I told you, if you specialize in a niche, this is happening by the thousands, by the way. Referrals are being given by the thousands every single month. All you have to do is go get that relationship. Insurance agents, another massive one. All of you probably know a half dozen of them, right? The State Farms, the AAAs, the Allstate agents, all these people. Think about what they're doing every single day in their office. They're sitting there every day writing homeowners insurance policies. For who? People that are buying houses. Wouldn't it make sense for you to go and build relationships with 3, 4, 5 of them? And as they're sitting there getting their clients and they're saying, hey, we're looking to buy a house in Troy, in Royal Oak, in Livonia. And that insurance agent says, oh my gosh, you gotta meet my guy. You gotta meet my girl. You know, Shane is at the social house. I mean, dude, this is the best real estate agent ever. Let me introduce you. So that's the referral partner model. All that makes sense to you guys, hopefully so far? Like hopefully opening your eyes up to just a new way to generate business that most realtors that I work with, they just don't do this, right? They're so used to being hunted by the mortgage person, hunted by the title rep. Well, what if we flip that around? There are other professions that work with the clients that you want to work with, okay? And then CPAs, financial planners would be a couple more. All right, let's talk about the market domination plan. I want to make sure we get through everything and we stay on time. So all of you, including myself, if we could choose like any business method and how we do business and how we grow our real estate business, all of us would choose to list and sell properties like where we live, like in our neighborhoods, and be the go-to agent that anytime somebody wanted to sell their house, they just call the local expert. Like we all want that. Well, this is how you do it. So the other ones I kind of showed you just to kind of open your eyes up. I didn't get it too tactical with those. This, I'm going to get super tactical. All right. So number one, okay, when you pick a neighborhood that you want to work in, whether you live there, you know the houses back and forth, you understand the market, this is like your farm area. The first thing that you're going to want to do is what I call breaking news. So every time there's a new listing, every time something goes under contract, or every time there's a new sale, you have to be the one that communicates that out to the neighborhood. You can drop a voicemail using slide dial. With a click of a button, you can get into every single person's voicemail, and you just hit a button and it sends the whole broadcast right into their voicemail, letting them know a new house just went up for sale, a new house just went under contract, a new home just sold. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of other buyers looking to purchase homes in the area. Are you considering selling this year? Right? So that's the breaking news tactic. Number two, new listing grand opening. Anytime there is a listing, whether it's from you, your company, or a different company, I highly recommend that you reach out to that listing agent and ask them to hold an open house at any listing that comes into your farm area. And you make that open house look like an absolute circus. You guys have seen new construction sites with the flags and the signs and all the stuff happening. That is what you want your open houses to look like. Why? We're playing to a perception. Whether it's your listing or not is irrelevant. What we want is, as people drive around the neighborhood and they see your face and your signs and your branding everywhere, we're trying to win that top of mind awareness that when somebody in your farm wants to sell a house, that they automatically think of you. They've been getting your information every time a house hits the market or sells. Now they see your open houses everywhere in the neighborhood. That's what you want to do. Number three, monthly market report. You have two options here. I prefer that every 30 days, you hand deliver a monthly market report to your farm, right? You're not looking to pressure them to do anything. You're literally as a service every month. Hey, here's what happened in the neighborhood. Here's what property values are doing. Here are all the homes and how much they sold for, so you can have all the data. Why do we do this? Well, if you're like me, which I bet you are, every time a house goes up for sale in your neighborhood and there's a little sign in there, after you get done being mad that you didn't get the listing, what are the questions you're asking yourself? How much is it? And how is it compared to mine? Every single time. Well, wouldn't that be fair to assume that every homeowner is saying the same thing? Now they can be getting that information from you on a monthly basis. So A, you can hand deliver it, or B, you can send it out in direct mail, and you can use a company called Mailbox Power is what we use. And so again, we automate the entire process. Click a button, the entire neighborhood gets a full-blown market report every 30 days, and it's all automatic, okay? Let me keep moving forward. All right. Then the other thing is, if they don't have a Facebook group, start the Facebook group. But if they have a Facebook group, you want to make your monthly market update video in that neighborhood's Facebook group, reporting what has happened. And then every year, you want to get that neighborhood an annual CMA, okay? Because again, we're looking to stay top of mind. So we're using the law of reciprocity. We're give. How many of you are Gary Vee fans, right? Raise your hand. So he's got great books that, cool, one of you guys have heard of them. I'm just kidding. All of you have. So he talks about this strategy and he wrote a book on it, right? It's jab, 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 hook, right? That's what we're talking about. Give in this neighborhood so that when they want to sell a house, you become the obvious choice. All right, so now let's talk about skills to sell over the phone. So I'm going to give you 5 skills that are going to help you when you're communicating with all of these people over the phone. Number 1, I'm going to teach you how to remove reflex resistance. Number 2, I'm going to teach you about being a chameleon. Number 3, speaking in hypotheticals. Number 4, responding to objections. And then number 5, which is the most important thing, how to set appointments. So let's talk about skill number 1, removing reflex resistance. Okay, here's what I mean. There's 2 concepts that you need to learn that are backed by science. 1, something called psychological reactance, and 2, the principle of consistency. And here's how they work. Okay, psychological reactance is when a person feels that their ability to make their own choice is at risk, or they feel pressured to do something. When that happens, the person instinctively pushes back. You do it and I do it. And reactance is at the core of why every single sale is lost. So let me give you an example that we have all experienced probably on a weekly basis. You walk into a department store, okay, because you're just so bored and you just want to go find something to do. And the sales clerk says, "Can I help you find something?" And what do you guys say every time without fail? "Nope, I'm just looking." Every single time. We'd all agree with that. However, here's what's interesting that happens in about 3, 4, 5 minutes later. You show up at the desk and then you actually purchase something. Well, how is that possible? When the person says, "Can I help you find something?" "No, I'm just looking. I'm just very bored. I'm just looking." No, that wasn't the case. It was your reflex saying, "Nope, I'm just looking." Because as soon as you felt that reactance, that's what we're talking about, you automatically wanted to push back. This is why when you tell a child, "Don't touch that hot stove, you're going to burn your damn hand. Don't touch the stove." What do they do every time? They touch the stove. That's reactance. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to lower that reactance, because let's face it, if you call a prospect out of the blue, do they have a lot of reactance towards you? Yes or yes? Absolutely. So we have to look at the science and say, how do we lower, or better yet, how do we remove the prospect's reactance? I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. All right, so there's a study done by 2 behavioral scientists, and they wanted to find out, how in the world do we lower this reactance? Okay, the study was called the Panhandler study. You guys can go look about, you guys can go do research on it, but let me share with you what happened. So the scientists took 2 groups of panhandlers, and they were going to go into a busy street and ask for money. One group of panhandlers just had a simple sign that just said, "Help." The other group of people also had the same message, but after they delivered that message, they used something that removed all of the reactance. And here's what they said. They said, "Of course, it's up to you." And what they found was the group that added that line got 400% more money. Why? Because we had to have the prospect or the person giving money make their own decision, that we weren't trying to force them to do anything, that it was up to them whether or not they wanted to donate or give money. And when we can do that, the likelihood of somebody's compliance goes up. In this study that the psychologist found was by 400%. So what we need to do is do the same thing when we're prospecting and generating new business, or we're meeting with buyers and sellers. we have to lower their reactance. They can't feel as though you're pressuring them. They have to feel as though things are their own idea. And again, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Okay. Now let's talk about the second concept on how to remove reflex resistance. This is called the scientific principle of consistency. And what it says is when a person makes a public commitment, the desire to be consistent with that commitment becomes immeasurable. I mean, it's so high that scientists can't even measure how high it is. And so they did a study. They did a study on a group of people that lived in this apartment complex. And they had they separated them into two groups. And the idea here was that local community wanted to build a recreation center. And half the group, they sent them a petition to sign to say, are you in support of this new construction? They sent those out. Those people signed it, said, yeah, we're in support of that. We would love a recreation center. Okay, cool. And then the other people, they didn't send that petition. And here's what they found. When they went to ask for donations, okay, so the first group of people, they signed a petition. Yes, I absolutely publicly declare I'm in support of this. They didn't ask for any money yet. But when they went to go ask for money, 92% of the people that publicly declared that they are in favor of this gave money, where the people that didn't publicly sign the petition didn't give money. What does this suggest? What does this mean? This means that when people voice a commitment publicly, like, yes, I can help you move your couch this weekend, Yaz, the chances of me helping her to move her couch this weekend is immeasurably higher than had I not committed publicly. So what does this mean? So let me show you guys what I call the science-backed sales call opener that lowers reactance, and we take that principle of consistency. Okay, so if there was a magic script, here's what it would be. So we call a prospect, we call a for sale by owner, and the prospect's name is Bob. Bob is always my favorite. It's like Bob and Sue for everything. So we always use their first name because to you, your first name is the most beautiful word in the English language. Think back to school, right? You weren't paying attention and you're like, yes. And you're like, oh shit. Yes. Yeah. Right. They catch you off guard, right? So this is used as a pattern interrupt in neurolinguistics. So we use the prospect's first name. So a man answers the phone. We're calling Bob. He says, hello. You say, Bob? He goes, yeah. Who's this? You say, this is Brandon. I'm a realtor and I know this call's out of the blue, but I was hoping to tell you why I called. And then you could tell me if we should talk or not. Fair enough. Now we've given the prospect full autonomy to make their own decision whether or not we need to have this conversation. This is how we lower the prospect's reactance versus just pressuring them into a conversation that they may or may not want to have. So think about this the next time you call a lead, right? Do you just try to force your way into the conversation? Well, when we use science and we leave it up to the prospect, and then they say, yeah, well, what's up? Which they will. That takes the principle of consistency. When they verbalize their commitment to have the conversation with you, your conversations go so much smoother. The amount of objections and pushback that you get goes down dramatically. So let's talk about skill number 2. If you have any questions about skill number 1, let me know. Skill number 2, I'm going to go a lot faster now because I don't want to run out of time. This is called being a chameleon. Okay. So there's 4 personality styles. Everybody has a little bit of all of them, but we all have a dominant trait. So we have to listen for who we are communicating with, and then we must alter how we communicate with them. It's not up to them. All the science and all the studies suggest that we have a massive responsibility on how people respond to us. All right. So think about that. The next time you want to call somebody an asshole, think about what was my responsibility in that interaction, because all the science suggests that you play a huge role on how people respond to you. So there's the driver, there's the amiable, the expressive, and the analytical. So you have to listen to say, okay, who am I actually talking to? There's great books on selling to all 4 personality styles. You guys should all go get them. But if you're communicating with the driver, they don't care about your feelings, right? You got to get right to the point and they will cut you off. So you got to be direct and right to the point. Amiables are the people pleasers, right? They're never mad. They just go with the flow. So you need to show them how much you care. The expressives, they just love the talk. They want all the recognition. They want all the praise. They're the life of the party. So when you're communicating with expressives, right, you want to edify their ego as much as you possibly can. And then when communicating with the analyticals, of course, the toughest one for us, these are like the engineer types, right? These are the data-driven people. So focus on the data. And analyticals hate pressure. They take a long time to make decisions, which okay. Just take that into consideration when you're communicating with them. Let's talk about skill number 3, speaking in hypotheticals, okay? Here's the story I always tell to all of my coaching clients, all right? So on screen, you see a picture of a couple that just got married. But what does the caption say? The caption says, "Are you guys getting a divorce?" Isn't that weird? Let me explain to you what's happening here. Here's what so many real estate agents do, okay? And I'm going to give you a great example in just a minute. It would be ridiculous, and I think hopefully you guys would all agree, it would be absolutely ridiculous to go up to a couple on their wedding day and ask them if they're planning to get divorced on the same day. You guys all agree? Hopefully you smile. That's supposed to be a joke. You can laugh. It would be like absurd, right? We do that every day in real estate, which I'll show you in just a second. However, what if you went up to that couple that just got married and said, "Hey, let me ask you a question. I know you guys just got married. I respect that. It's a great wedding. It's amazing. Super fun time. What if in 5 years, this person becomes somebody completely different? They go off the rails. You find out you married a real asshole. At that point, if that were to ever occur, would you be open to maybe getting a divorce and dating again?" Well, now when you can speak in hypotheticals, this is yet again another strategy that scientists have shown to lower reactance. In other words, don't put people on the spot. When you can propose different ideas about something in the future that most likely the perception that it will never happen, that is the very moment somebody will open up. And so this is what we need to do in real estate. So let me give you an example. Okay, calling a for sale by owner. We all know they're selling by owner. The sign's in the front yard. It might as well just say, "I don't want to list my house with a realtor." Yet, every realtor tries to call a for sale by owner and convince them to list with a realtor. It's the same thing like going up to the person that just got married and asking them to get a divorce on the same day. Of course, they're going to give you objections. Of course, they're going to tell you to kick rocks. Of course, they're going to hang up the phone on you because you weren't taking the science. You were doing things that go against how humans behave. So here's what you need to do instead using this skill. Here's what you want to do. You call it for sale by owner and you say, "Mr. For sale by owner, listen, I understand that you're selling on your own," which makes sense regardless of what other agents are telling you. "I was only calling to find out if for some reason you can't get the home sold on your own within the next 3 to 4 weeks, if you'd be open to looking at some other options down the road potentially." Now, what are we doing here? We already know the for sale by owner, the likelihood of them listing with an agent the first day they try to sell their house on their own, is it high or low? It's very, 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 very low because their optimism right now is super high. I'm selling this on my own. I don't need a realtor. I don't want a realtor. I don't value realtors. But what happens over time is when they don't sell on their own and they get frustrated with all the lowball offers and all the investors calling them and all the realtor boneheads calling them, they start to lose the optimism. Conversion with all for sale by owners lives between weeks 4 and 6. Well, we know that, right? Well, why would we try to put them on the spot? We shouldn't. Speak in hypotheticals. Then when the for sale by owner says, "Yeah, well, as I guess, yeah, if we can't sell this thing in a month or 2 months from now, yes, sure, we'd be open to other opportunities." Boom. That is what you're looking for. That's step 1 in converting a lead into a listing. You're trying to find the people who are open to other ideas down the road if they can't do what they want to do on their own. That's a for sale by owner example on how you would use this skill to speak in hypotheticals. Let's talk about skill number 4, responding to objections. I could talk about this for 7.5 days, but we're going to do it in like less than 70 seconds. So here's my 3-step framework. One, anytime you get an objection, someone says, I don't like your pink shirt, Brandon. Cool. I totally get it, right? That's how you respond to any objection. Whether your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife gives you any objection or any prospect, it must be agreeable. The second it's not, what happens? That becomes an argument, right? So if you don't want to argue with your clients, the first thing out of your mouth is like, I get it. Totally makes sense. I'm with you. This is called an agreeable acknowledgement. This is how we lower their defenses. Step number 2 is what I call strategic empathy. Okay. So how can you speak from the prospect's point of view, not yours? Not what's best for you, what is best for the client? So Yaz tells me, Brandon, your pink shirt is hideous. I say, I get it. I understand. If I was you having to look at this pink shirt for this whole Zoom, I'd probably be frustrated too, right? That would be strategic empathy. And then number 3 is pivoting to another question immediately, without pause, without hesitation. This is how you control sales conversations, is by asking questions, okay? The one listening is in control. The one talking is out of control. Because think about this. When I ask you a question and get you to talk, who controlled that interaction? It was me that pulled on the string, right? So we have to pivot to another question immediately. Let me give you an example. You call an expired listing and the prospect gives you this objection. Hey, thanks for calling, but you know what? We're no longer selling the home, which is an objection you get a lot from expired listings. This is how you use that framework. You would say, hey, listen, makes sense. And if I was you, I'd probably want to break as well. So let me ask you, had you got a great offer, where were you planning to move? We have to pivot the next question away from the objection. All right. So we use this framework. Makes total sense. And again, if I was you, I'd probably want to break from the market too. So I guess let me just ask you before I let you go, had you gotten a great offer when you were on the market, where were you planning on moving? Well, we were planning on downsizing. We're trying to get rid of this house. And now we can have a conversation. Now we can prolong the conversation instead of getting stuck and saying, oh shit, what do I do next? And then the phone call ends. Okay. Let's talk about skill number 5, setting appointments. All right. So you have to focus on getting face-to-face. People don't owe you anything over the phone. They're not going to tell you anything over the phone. You have to focus on getting the face-to-face meeting. What you and every other realtor has ever told me is, Brandon, when I'm in front of somebody, I do great. It's when I'm on the phone that I get all weird and my neck gets all blotchy and I get sweaty and I get all uncomfortable. But when I'm in person, I'm fine. Okay. So you want to focus on getting face-to-face. Don't take the bait. I list properties every single day, and so does my team, with for sale by owners who tell us, I hate realtors. I would rather die than pay a realtor commission. We get those listings every single day. Okay. Because we don't take the bait. And nothing is as it seems. So remember, we talked about reflex resistance. When you walk in the department store and you say, they say, Yaz, can I help you find something? And Yaz says, no, I'm just looking. But then she buys something 90 seconds later. Nothing is as it seems. So don't take the bait and start trying to get into this conversation about the objection. Just stay agreeable, get past it. Because what happens in most cases is what you'll find is that there is motivation there that they didn't let on in the beginning. So there's a 4-step framework for setting appointments, okay? 1, you want to lower reactance. 2 is a value statement, which is selling the appointment. Number 3 is giving the perception of control to the prospect. And then number 4 is using the F word to gain commitment. And not that F word, Yaz. I'm talking about using fair. So let me give you the script. Here's an example. Bob, listen. You're a smart guy. You're probably not going to do anything unless it made sense. Am I right? Well, yeah, Brandon, you're probably right. Okay, great. Well, listen, if you want, I'd be happy to stop by one day this week. And when I'm there, I'll share a strategy on how I can get buyers to overpay for your home. And then you can decide if working with me makes sense or not. Fair enough? Right? That is how you get someone to say, yeah, I mean, there's really no downside. So this script takes into consideration all 4 steps in that framework. You can go back and you can rewatch this and practice this. But again, this is how we can really increase our contact to appointment set ratio, is by being able to deliver this science-based script to get people to agree to the meeting. All right. So now I promised you a blueprint on how to get 50 homes sold. And I know I'm going really fast. but I have to make this 1 hour. So let me give you the blueprint. You guys all want this? Somebody said no. I said, I think his head moved the wrong way. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's do it. Selling 50 houses. No ad spend, okay? So let me give you the average conversion ratios based on the niches we just talked about. So contacts per hour you should be able to make is 10 if you're on some type of dialer like Mojo or Vulcan 7 or RedX, something like that. Contacts to appointments set on average. You might be a badass and you might be better than this, but on average it's 50. Appointments set to met. So how many appointments do you need to set that actually come to fruition? That average is 70%. You set 10 appointments, you only go on 7. 3 people will probably want to cancel the appointment, or you may want to cancel on them. Your met to listing taken. So how many people do you have to meet with in order to get them to sign a contract to pay you 6 or 7%? This is a 50% conversion ratio. Average. Some of you are like, yeah, Brandon, I close 90%. Cool. Average. Next is how many listings do you take that actually sell that you get paid on? I know it's high right now because the market's doing us all a favor, but on average is 80%. I'm going to use the average commission of $6,000. So let's look at the plan. Commission earned $300,000 in income means you have to sell 50 houses, right? Average commission of $6,000. You need to list 62 properties, right? 80% of them will close. That's 50. Well, how many listing appointments do you need to go on? If you close half, you got to go on 124 appointments, right? How many appointments do you need to set if 70% come to fruition? You need to set 177 appointments. How many people do you need to talk to in order to set 177 appointments? If it takes you 50 contacts, 50 conversations to set one appointment over the course of a year, I know this looks like a big number, but 8,850 people. If we break that down monthly, watch how much easier this is to accept. This is selling 4 houses a month, getting 5 listings. You need to go on 10 listing appointments, talking to 737 people. And when we break it down daily, Shane, we find it's only 30 conversations a day, which should only take you between 2 and 3 hours of actual work per day. Focus on the lead sources that we talked about, following my rule of 5. So any agent that I coach, we have them follow what we call the daily 30. Here's how it works to get your 30 conversations. Ready? I'm going to go through these fast. You call 5 expired listings a day. You call 5 for sale by owners a day. You call 5 people in your niche. You call 5 referral partners, and you call 5 people on your farm. I don't know about you, but that's 30 people, right? So what we want to do is if you follow that daily 30 framework, it's very simple for you to have these 30 conversations. And if you do that 240 times, which is a full-time realtor schedule, that includes days that you don't want to get out of bed, and that includes vacations and time off and all that stuff, you will sell 50 homes and you will make $300,000. We've done this with over 2,000 realtors, like clockwork. We've done it 2,000 times. So if you follow this framework, you can do this exact same thing. Questions?